It's simple. We just need to make sure to write everything purely in binary.
Yeah, simple.
Simple.
Welcome to My Hill to Die On, episode 72.
Everyone has things that they're passionate about.
Things we want our friends to try and experience.
So we've convinced each other to try different things.
And we talk about these experiences to see if we can get just one more person
to join us on our Hill to Die On.
One of the things that did happen this week was Synology tempted me.
Synology tempted you?
Yeah, they released the 1823 XS Plus. Which is a mouthful.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just thinking, did they show some ankle? I mean, how did they?
No. They released a new model because my Synologies are older. Their motherboards are actually failing in small ways, and I've had to put jumpers on the motherboards to get my Synologies to boot up. You know, it's one of those scenarios where you watch YouTube and they're like, oh, just solder these pins to these pins, and then you can get your Synology working. And I'm like, oh my goodness, really?
Yeah, just a little bit of solder.
Just a little bit of solder, right. Oh, that makes me feel much safer, you know, especially with my limited soldering skills. Oh, anyway, so yes, I did get them to work again, not the exact way that the YouTube video said, but which is disappointing. But they're working again, and I have two of these models, and they're both breaking in the same fashion, which gives me very little confidence. So I am basically waiting until they release the new version of the model that I have, and as soon as they do, I'm going to buy it. And I have the 1815 Plus, and they released the 1823 XS Plus, and I was thinking the XS
is spending money in excess.
Basically, it is. It is spending more money. But it's a faster machine. And I look at it and, well, yes, I would like a faster Synology, and excessively fast Synology is not required. I am one person, maybe two people are simultaneously looking at my Synology, maybe. So the decently fast, just regular Plus series is going to be fine.
Do you think they named it that just so I could make the puns?
I don't know.
I mean, not specifically for me, but...
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know why they call it XS. It's interesting. But I do know they do stick the faster processors in there. So it was tempting. I don't need the speed. I could, sure, I'll pay for it maybe if I made it worth it. But what really stopped me, and I didn't notice this right away because I was talking to one of our colleagues about this, and he pointed out right away to me that this model doesn't support one of Synology's key features to me, which is their hybrid RAID system, or SHR, Synology Hybrid RAID, which means that just stick whatever disks you have into the Synology, and it will build the RAID appropriately. So I looked at that, and sure enough, he's right. It doesn't have it. And it's confusing to me. Why not?
Because none of the future ones will have it in. Bum, bum, bum.
Well, I hope that's not the case. That would be very sad.
I mean, it just depends on how much are they getting out of... I mean, what is it costing them, essentially, to continue with that feature?
Well, I think the reasoning is... Yeah, okay, so I'm seeing somebody else say this something similar here. That for speed reasons, you don't really want to use SHR. There's probably a bit of software overhead to using SHR. So it slows things down a little bit. And if you are somebody paying this much money for a Synology, you can probably afford to put in the same size disks across the board. Because the people buying this are companies, not individuals. This model is not built for my house. This model is built for a company. And when companies buy it, they can afford disks that are the same size. So they'll just stick a whole bunch of disks in that are the same size and then hit RAID 5 on them and be done. So I think that's the reason, is that the people who are buying this can just set it up properly. They're going to set it up properly, and they're going to set it up once and be done. So it's not for somebody like me who kind of wants to build things up over time. That's not what it's designed for. So I think that's the reason. RAID 5 requires all disks the same size. SHR, you just stick in whatever disks you have in your closet and you'll be fine.
I mean, just because I want to still stick in that 150 gigabyte one.
Well, in my current Synology, I do still have a 1 terabyte drive in there. But actually, that's what's killing me right now. I wish I had a spare bay, but I had filled up all my bays with those 1 terabyte drives. So one of the things that I'm looking forward to also in this process is Well, I'm not looking forward to buying new drives because they'll be expensive, but buying new drives and redistributing my data on some new drives and starting again so that the 1 terabyte drive is not the smallest drive in my collection. One of the things I would really like to speed up is my photo stuff, because I was doing some even photo organizing today. And it would be nice to have SSDs in there. So I might set aside some drive bays for SSDs so I can stick the photos on some SSDs. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they tempted me with the XS, the 1823 XS Plus, but I didn't need the speed, and I'm glad that they've given me another reason to not spend so much money.
Come on now. I mean, it's not like you don't want to just spend tons of money and just throw all of your bank account at Synology.
Yeah, I don't really want to, but because my Synologies are kind of hanging on by a thread, I'm going to have to spend a bunch of money.
Yeah, well, we all spend our money somewhere.
Yeah.
I get accused of sending all my money to the local curry shop. So we all got to spend our money somewhere.
I'm hopeful that by the time we release this episode, they will have... There's the challenge, Synology. By the time we release this episode, will you have released the DS1823 Plus? Will you have released it? Can you send me a demo model?
Ah.
Yeah, if you haven't yet, I will take a review unit.
Yeah, right up there with, hey, video game companies, send me review copies of your games. I'll be happy to talk about them.
At Game Corner. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to happen anytime soon.
No, probably not. But anyway.
Also, let's be fair. Even if somebody sent me a game, there are some that I'd just be like, no, I'm not going to play this. Because I at least have some standards on what I'm going to play. They're low, but I have some standards.
All right, I have another question for you, Ryan.
Sure, and I might have an answer for you.
One of the special things about our internal staff website is that it has themes.
Okay.
The problem is Sakura season is coming early this year. And the automatic timing is going to need to be adjusted, huh? What do you think?
I would agree to that sentiment, yes.
I think we're going to have to fix this pretty quickly this week.
Yeah.
In our internal staff portal, we have a Sakura-themed layout, which is fun. It has possibly annoying falling petals, which is why you can turn them off. But, it's just a fun little CSS animation. But Sakura season is more hard to predict than I thought it was going to be. I think the way the website has it timed now is the week before April 1st and the week of April 1st, which is going to fall down this year because I think it's going to be like 2 or 3 weeks before April 1st, and then it usually lasts 2 to 3 weeks, right? We should review the timing. There's a chance that it could come up next week. And maybe that would be enough.
Well, I will say that there is one of the new Sakura trees that was planted a couple of weeks or a month ago now. Oh.
Yeah, during the snow.
During the snow. I know it has already bloomed a little bit. It hasn't gone full bloom, but it has bloomed a little bit.
Budded. I think it's budded. I don't think it's bloomed, right?
I don't remember. I thought it had, like, a few of the flowers had bloomed, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, you could be right then. No, you could be right.
I
Tokyo, they're saying flowering as early as the 15th. So maybe you're right. Maybe, like you said, maybe it's already blooming a little bit. And then full bloom is March 22nd, which is a few days later than I had heard earlier. I thought I had heard earlier that March 18 was full bloom.
But I've been hearing for months now that people were anticipating an early bloom this year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it is unseasonably warm at the moment.
It is. Tokyo is blooming earlier than some of the southern cities. So Tokyo is flowering March 15, full bloom March 22. And like even Fukuoka does the next earliest at blooming at March 19. So it's quite interesting that Tokyo is blooming very early this year. Generally speaking, it happens further south and then works its way north.
Yeah.
I do wonder, what would be the downside to having the Sakura theme up on our website early?
I don't see a downside.
Yeah. I think we just lengthen the time frame that theme could be active. Just include a week earlier, just for times where it could potentially be earlier. Sakura season will then have appeared at some point during those 3 weeks. Yeah. Let's review this week.
Yeah.
Because this is a very important thing in our website.
Well, I mean, not just that. And then we can discuss, when do we get to make a Halloween theme?
Yeah, no, I'm rejecting the Halloween theme.
You're rejecting Halloween theme?
Yeah.
But it can have bats.
I think there are other quality themes that we could do. I think we should avoid choosing themes that fall only on one day.
What are you talking about? Halloween is all of October at this point.
Yep. You know, I'll have you know, the Christmas theme appears on December 1st. It doesn't go any earlier than December 1st.
So the problem is most of the other ones that I can think of would be falling in the spring, and then we just have a load of different themes for the spring. That's why I was trying to think of like a fall-y kind of one.
Yeah, so we do the Sakura theme, and then we go into a rainy season theme, right?
Oh, I was actually just thinking an Easter theme.
I was trying to think of things that we could actually predict with PHP. Can you get the day of Easter with PHP?
Yeah. Speaking of how we do things, someone did ask me an interesting question this weekend. And it is, why do we use FileMaker as our UI?
As our UI for what?
For a lot.
Why do we? Why do we pick that piece of software?
Why do we do that and not, say, just use SQL and program for that?
Yes. The reason we use FileMaker is because a few reasons. One is that since it's a company under Apple, there's at least a chance that it will stick around, that it's not going to fold because of low customer volume or something like that. There's at least a chance of that. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's at least a chance of it. Second reason is I wanted to choose a system that was much easier to use, that was generally speaking easier to use for our primary system, that any tech coordinator could potentially learn it quickly.
Without needing a whole ton of programming experience.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Now, of course, we went too far probably. Because we could just keep programming, right?
Yeah.
So I think, yes, we started with FileMaker, but we've just continued to expand into more and more advanced stuff. And I'm using the royal we because it's probably me. So yeah, we've probably expanded too far into complex stuff. And the complex stuff has become a little bit too integral. But yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. No, I think it was an interesting question. I just thought it was a good thing to think about just so I could think about, like, why do we do it this way, especially considering that we have right now 2 on-staff programmers who FileMaker might not be a necessary venue to use for our UI.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think a programmer would look at it and say, why are you hampering yourself with FileMaker, right?
Yes.
And I think that's a fair question, too. We've been lucky at our school that we have hung around for a significant amount of time. We basically started using FileMaker when I first came 20 years ago. So, and these were the reasons, because we were using a program called Panorama, which I think is still around, to its credit, but was already, a somewhat niche application at its time, which was what was scaring me, right? So these reasons I'm giving you are straight out of the discussion we had 20 years ago saying, should we keep Panorama? And me coming in saying, no, FileMaker's the company. If we're going to hitch ourselves around a GUI database system, then we should be hitching ourselves around FileMaker, not Panorama. And that's contentious, and the people before me had done a significant amount of work in Panorama. So it was, disappointing in some ways to switch, but I think it was still the right move. I think you find a lot more answers, in search. How do you do something in FileMaker? Although that being ironic, as you and I have both been poring over a thing that FileMaker really does not do well over the past week.
Hey, it works now. It just requires, a few interesting avenues.
Right. So, I mean, and that's why we're hampered, right? I mean, almost every other programming language can do this. FileMaker cannot.
Mm-hmm. I also definitely didn't tell them that I spent like 2 days, 3 days.
Just for grep.
Just for grep.
Come on.
I definitely did not even mention that during this entire conversation, because I think they would have been like, why are you...
Let's say it right here, Ryan. FileMaker, can you just please add a grep command?
Yeah, FileMaker. Seriously, why do I need to run through an Apple script just to do a grep?
Well, that's the way we decided to do it, right? We could have done it with a web viewer. We could, which is bad also. What were the other ways we were looking at doing it?
You could do it through terminal. Like do a script command.
Oh, that's right.
Shell command.
There was a send event, right? Send Apple event or something like that.
Something like that. I think it was just send event.
Mm-hmm. And then we were limited because our Macs only come with grep 2.6 when the Linux in the office was running 3.3 and we were getting much better results through that grep. Anyway, it was just a snowball, right? Like, can't get this done. Come on.
And not just that our computers were running 2.6, but the user who would be using this.
Yes.
This one little command in the middle of a tiny little file.
Right. And one of the truths I learned at Time Magazine was, if at all possible, don't program to be reliant on a plugin, because that just slows your FileMaker stuff down. It doesn't slow it. It doesn't slow the processor down. I mean, it might actually. I've never tested, but it means you have to keep those plugins up to date. It means you can't download the newest FileMaker when it comes out. You have to wait for all of that to update. Like, it just slows down your whole development cycle. And if you just keep everything pure FileMaker, then it just keeps working.
Here's the question then. With the updates that are happening, does that mean we're going to go pure FileMaker?
Yeah, actually, yeah. You mean the ones I'm looking at doing, the sync engine ones?
Uh-huh.
Yes, actually, because our website, because of the complex thing that we've set up with our programming, since we do sync a lot of data to MySQL daily, I had written this sync engine in PHP to bring FileMaker data into MySQL because MySQL does better with data in MySQL. It's faster. And for stuff that doesn't change, like names and class schedules and things like that, just bring it into MySQL static, and it syncs once a night, and that's often enough. But yes, since I'm looking to bring the sync engine out of PHP and into FileMaker itself, it will simplify things again. Like, I don't even know why I didn't think of this earlier. I have no idea why I didn't consider this. And one of our colleagues asked me, because I was going over this problem with him, and he's like, why didn't you just do this to begin with? And I was like, well, I had already started accessing the data through PHP. So that's why I just turned to PHP to do it, because it just made sense at the time. But no, it really should have made sense to make the sync engine in FileMaker itself. It is going to tremendously make that computer simpler, because all that computer has to have then is FileMaker and not the deprecated custom web publishing engine that I've been having to keep up to date frequently, which is now deprecated, so now I can't even use it anymore. So I am very pleased that it's going to be FileMaker only. And it means that the end users can perform a full sync if they need to also.
Yeah.
Like, let's say class schedules are changed and the registrar doesn't want to wait overnight for that data to get up to the server. She could just run a sync on that file only, and the class schedules will be up to date.
And so, yeah, when the question came up, I gave my normal responses, but I hadn't been involved in the original decision-making process, so I was just wondering if it was something that had been thought about for basically like hey, have we reevaluated this recently? But I'm going to tell you right now, to change that horse and cart would be a big undertaking right now.
Well, and one of the other reasons, too, is that FileMaker, well, I mean, I guess, I don't know, it just builds on the other reason of the easiness, right? We can get something working in FileMaker very quickly. If we were to start from scratch with a PHP MySQL system, it would take a lot more work to get something even up and running.
Yeah.
So the turnaround in FileMaker is a lot quicker.
Yeah, and especially for the fact that most of what we're doing here, we want it to be something that, God forbid, we both get hit by the same bus, they can still operate.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think here's one of the benefits. You know, our registrar and our HR manager have been here for a while also.
Yeah.
And they have been getting more and more and more familiar with our system to the point where they can begin making minor changes now. And they don't have to call us.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if we can get to the point where we can give them even more power. These two specifically. And maybe a few others on our staff too. But I mean, as you earn up to that level, then you can get more power, right? In some ways, FileMaker is empowering not only the tech director, right, to be able to make changes,
but it's empowering the end user.
I mean, I think one of the things that I was really impressed with when I used to work for Time Magazine on their databases, there was an end user there who really knew her way around FileMaker. And there's a lot of tips and tricks in FileMaker. You can, shortcuts and just knowing how to search for data, how to sort data. We do make buttons to make things easier, but there are just a lot of shortcuts you could do too if there weren't buttons. If they're not easy always to learn, you kind of have to learn them. But there was an end user at Time Magazine who was really quick at that stuff. And I hadn't taught her. She must have learned it either on her own or maybe somebody else in the tech staff at Time taught her, but I doubt it. I think she was just a very go-getter type person and just studied it on her own and learned about it. Before that, I had designed databases that stripped a lot of user control away and put buttons in place to make things a little bit more prominent, but it did take away user control. And I realized when watching her use the database we had for at Time Magazine, when watching her use that database, I was like, okay, my original thinking is the wrong move. Especially because why develop things that FileMaker already developed for me, right? I don't need a next record button. FileMaker has a next record button. It's just in the top toolbar because I had built databases that hide the toolbar and things like that. Don't hide the toolbar. Just allow them to use the toolbar. It's right there. I mean, yes, it doesn't look like your database or your design or things like that, but you know what? FileMaker already debugged it, and they made it work very well, right? And you can't even get a pie. FileMaker in the toolbar has a pie, where if you click on it, you get the reverse of what you have now. Anyway, it's a cool feature, but you can't do it in the same way FileMaker does it. They've got a lot of nice things about that. So I realized watching her use the database at Time Magazine, I was like, oh, okay, no. I have to build it so that there can be people like her because she is saving me work. Because of the fact that she knows all this stuff, I don't have to do as much work for her. And if I can train people or even train people bit by bit to get to a level like that, then they're just going to be that much more powerful.
Yeah. We want it to be able that if a tech coordinator who doesn't know programming as well as you or I comes in,
they have to be able to debug it.
They have to be able to at least keep the school running.
Right. Which is actually why, I mean, I know you've been doing this recently, well, most of the time actually, since you started, is take the time to write the scripts out really long, right?
And if you're not going to do that, comments.
Yep.
It's important to write your comments.
Right. What does this find do in the next line? It finds all of the necessary records for this thing, right? Boom, there. Now you know.
Because that's one of the things that I might have harped on a bit too much last year. How are you commenting your code?
Well, and then a programmer will scoff at the fact that we use PHP and MySQL. I mean, they're dead languages, but that's great for us because they don't change under us. The new cool languages are, granted, are new and cool. They are very cool, but the problem is they continue to change. And we've got PHP scripts that run on our site that are more than 20 years old, and they keep running because the language doesn't change. And I don't have to go in and fix them up. The only reason we have to go in and fix them up is because we've built new systems since, and we need to plug in the old systems to the new systems, right? Or connect them together better. Those are the reasons why we have to go in and touch the 20-year-old code, not because it's broken, but because other systems change around it. So I'm very pleased about that.
Yeah.
I opened up a page in LearnerBuild today. I'm not tearing it apart, but I am redoing a lot of how it works. And first thing I had to do was go in and add comments because it's like, okay, wait a minute. I'm reading through this again and I'm not seeing exactly where the parts I need to touch are. So I was like, okay, I'm going to add a comment. Okay, I figured out what that line does, adding a comment. Figured out what that line does, adding a comment to tell me. So yeah, I'm just going and adding comments right now. I have enough comments now that I think I can start working on it. But yeah, I needed to add comments the first time.
It is one of those things that I can tell which pages I had made basically my pet projects for a chunk of time because those are the ones that are really clearly mapped out, have tons of comments, like this section is this, here's the end of that section, things like that. Whereas I have other projects where it's somebody has run in and said, Ryan, I need this thing yesterday. And so in my rush, I'm grabbing all the code I need from various places where we already are doing those same sort of things, tweaking it here and there, and then calling it a day when it works. Being like, all right, it works, go. But I will say I like the ones that I am able to do properly, because it always makes me look back on that code and go, you know what? I did all right there.
Yeah, I mean, so really, we were deciding between two GUIs, two GUI programming languages back in the time. Yeah, it's supposed to be future-proofing. I don't know if we really are, but that's the goal.
I get it. Yes, I was talking to a programmer who
just says you tied your hands behind your back before you even begun.
Yes.
And I agree. I agree with that statement.
And I think those are all good and valid reasons. Again, I just thought it was an interesting question that came up, and I thought it might be nice to bring it up to you too.
Let's get started with Game Corner.
Ah, yes.
So Disco Zoo today.
Oh, great. Yes, tell me all about what you did with Disco Zoo today. Well, I definitely keep paying attention.
I got myself down to 9 million coins, but I'm still haven't restarted yet.
You haven't re-rolled again.
Nope.
All right. Anything else?
That's
Anything
it.
really?
That's it for that.
All right. So today, I want to talk to you about Hades, made by Supergiant Games.
Hades, huh?
Hades. The game Hades is a very fun game. I have played this on several systems. The first system I played it on was my Nintendo Switch. So yes, if you decide that you really want to play it, you can play it on your Nintendo Switch.
Wait, it's one game though. It's not like multiple versions. Oh no, there's Hades and Hades 2.
Well, Hades 2 isn't out yet.
Oh, okay.
Hades 2 just got announced pretty recently, actually.
Okay. So backing up here real quick. Probably maybe you'll answer this, but if you have Hades on one system and then play it on another, I'm sure your progress is not syncing across.
You actually can sync your progress across.
Oh, okay.
Depends on which systems they are, and you have to do some shenanigans, but yeah, you can send your progress across.
Okay.
I didn't, but that's because I wanted to play from the beginning again.
Okay.
But I have played this on Nintendo Switch, and I have played this on PlayStation 5. First of all, the premise of the game. You are Zagreus. You are the son of Hades, and you start the game wanting to escape from the underworld. And that's it. You want to escape from the underworld. So you go to try to escape from the underworld, and you have to fight your way out of hell, essentially.
So Hades is the villain.
Hades is the antagonist, I will say. He is the one standing in direct opposition to what you are trying to achieve. And so you are battling your way out of the underworld. So, minor early game spoilers here, but it is pretty quickly revealed that the reason that he is wanting to escape is because he found out that the person he believed was his mother was not actually his mother. And he is going to the surface world to try to find his mother, who is, if you know Greek mythology, it's Persephone, who is the traditional queen of the underworld. And it is a action roguelike game where you are trying to escape from the underworld, and it is roguelike because every time that you die in the game, you start back from the beginning. You're sent back to your father's household, and he usually gives you a very derisive comment about how, oh, so you failed to escape again. That kind of thing, where he's just like, so you failed again. And it's a very fun game. And every time you try to escape, you get a little bit better. There are certain things that you get to keep from each run so that you can make future runs easier. But yeah, The story is basically just you trying to escape and trying to find your way to the surface so that you can find your mom. And to escape and find your way to the surface, Zagreus requests help from all the other Greek gods to basically undermine his power, his father's authority. So you can be like, yo, Zeus, can you help me out? And so all of your attacks then send out lightning bolts and things like that. It's really interesting. The art style is really cool. The character design is amazing. They got some really interesting voice actors to do all the voice work for all these people. When you first meet characters like Dionysus, who is, by the way, the god of wine. So he just starts with, Zag, baby, let's get you out of there. That kind of level of like, they really get some interesting characterizations in there. Outside of that, I mean, I just genuinely really liked it. It was a lot of fun.
Did you say the style of the game? It's not RPG.
It is a action roguelike. So at the start of each run, you decide on which weapon you're going to go on the run with. So he starts with a sword. You can also get a spear, a bow, I guess basically a gun, and some fists, like gloves.
Okay.
And so you start by choosing what weapon you're going to do the run with. And then throughout the run, the dungeon and how to get out changes each time. So each room changes. The rewards that you are getting from each room changes. So you don't know if you're going to end up with the same kind of setup and the same kind of boons from the Greek gods that you did last time. So it changes up each run. So that's why I'm just like, oh yeah, no, that's a lot of fun. But yeah, it's things like Zeus provides lightning. If you get Poseidon, he'll create like waves and push enemies back. Dionysus, god of wine, poisons people essentially. Ares, god of war, inflicts a lot of damage on people and has a bunch of things that, like, after a certain amount of time will damage them more. Artemis, goddess of the hunt, is all about critical damage. Athena gives you, like, extra shields so that you can be protected. Things like that. Yeah, so honestly, the one tricky part for somebody like you playing is the fact that it is a game where when you enter a room, if you take your eyes off the screen, it does not pause well. So if you need to be interrupted a lot, it's not going to be a great, like, it's something that is best for, like, I'm going to sit down, play a half hour, and then be done. But if you are interrupted somewhere in that flow, it can throw you off your rhythm. And I know that you tend to play a lot of games where you need to be interruptible.
Yes. I need to be able to step away.
Yeah, which tells me that games you should be playing, I really want you to play things like Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley would be something that would be, I think, more your pace. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen Stardew Valley or played it?
I haven't yet.
It's a farming sim.
Yeah, I do kind of like farming sims. I mean, I think I was telling you about that one Nemo game, right? I talked to you about that, right?
I think so.
There was some Finding Nemo game on early iPads. I kind of enjoyed, but I think one of the things I'm worried about with farming sims is holding my interest later. You know, once I figure out, oh, okay, if I plant these crops in this fashion, I will get lots of food quickly. I think the problem I ran in with Nemo is, yeah, I got lots of food quickly, but there was nothing to keep me there after, okay, I got lots of food, but I didn't really want to buy any of the bigger things. I think that's what it was, right? Yeah, I could get these bigger things, but I don't want to buy them. They're not that interesting. So I think that's where that one fell down. I think that probably the Nintendo games won't fall down in that fashion, but...
Not in that fashion. Stardew Valley is a great one. Also, a lot of like the Song of Seasons and Harvest Moon games are fun. But the thing with Stardew is the fact that after a certain point, yeah, you might figure out the most efficient things, but all your crops die at the end of each season. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, oh, I can just set up something and forget it. But for me, what I love to do is I would always get far enough that I could then like 90% automate my farm. When you can set it up so that you have a sprinkler system that will water most of your crops for you, if not all of your crops for you. And then you just have to jump on your horse in the morning and check on your cows, or at least let them out of the barn so that they can eat the grass. Things like that. I do think those kind of games are fun, but we'll find something that you can branch out from the zoo of discos. But yeah, just wanted to talk about Hades. I mean, it's a game that came out in, 2020, I think? At least the full version of it came out in 2020, because if I remember right, it first came out on Steam in early access, but I might be wrong on that.
I didn't see that, but I wasn't looking for the date when I was looking it up.
It's been out for a while, is what I'm saying. Nobody's tried this game that's definitely been out for a long time, and everybody has, on a broad spectrum, said, yes, this is a great game. I will say, however, I am super excited that a Hades 2 got announced. I'm looking forward to trying that out when it comes out. All right, so what do we got this week, Nate?
We have a CC lemon, apple, and honey.
All right, so for our drink, we have a CC lemon.
Because possibly adding apple to the CC lemon honey will save it.
Because having honey plus lemon just needs apple as well, so that we get this as sweet as stinking possible. Uh-huh. Hey, it's got 1% fruit juice.
Yeah, 1% fruit juice. Which normal CC lemon has 1% fruit juice, so this apple did not add much. Also, the CC lemon sweet honey and the CC lemon rich honey that we've had did not fare well, if I can remember correctly.
No, they did not. If I remember right, the rich honey was worse, though.
So yeah, let's give this a try, huh? What do you think?
I think that I'm going to hate it, but, let's give it a shot.
Yep, let's see. It's got a little bit of a smell of apple.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the smell because
it's mixing in the honey and the lemon together.
It's a very overpowering smell. It's a medley, and I don't think that it's all in key.
I think the honey ruins it again. I gotta stop getting CC lemon and honey.
If it were just apple, I think it'd be fine.
Yep. I think if it was apple and lemon, that mix is not too bad. You know what this reminds me? Now, this is probably only me. Well, maybe a few other people who are old like me.
Old?
My mother used to give me medicine, and she'd open up the capsule, pour it on a spoon, and then put honey on the rest of the spoon. And then I would eat the honey with the medicine in it, and, it tasted pretty good at that point. You just drowned medicine in a whole bunch of sugar. And they got me to eat the medicine, but the overpowering honey kind of tastes like that.
Yeah.
Where there's honey, but there's hints of other flavors underneath that you're not quite getting because the honey's overpowering.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm not, retching.
No.
I'm not dying here. But it is definitely a disappointment.
Right. You ruined a perfectly good CC lemon with honey.
Yeah. Now the question is, what am I going to say this is? 5. It's 5.
Still passes, huh? I actually was thinking of going down to 4.
I think it passes. Not a drink I'm going to seek out. But if I think about my 4s of Calpis Ginger Ale being a 4, it's nowhere near that bad.
I don't know. Are you talking me into a 5? I guess it passes. No, I'm leaving it as a 4. I'm gonna leave it as a 4, Ryan.
Yeah, it's fine. You can have it as a 4.
I'm gonna disagree with you.
I give you my permission.
Thank you. Thank you for your permission. I accept your permission.
You know what I think would be better? If rather than honey, they went for more of a spiced flavor.
Ooh.
I think that'd be at least worth a shot.
Spiced apple? I think that'd be good, yeah.
Lemon and spiced apple? Or just a spiced apple drink.
Yeah, that would be good too, yeah.
Yeah. So, in addition to that, we also have a Kit Kat today.
Yes. And I have to look this up because I forget. Because it was a lot of kanji and I had to get somebody to read it for me.
It was a present, right?
Yes, this was a present from Scott again, because Scott provides our stuff for us.
Yeah. He keeps us well stocked with random Kit Kats.
Right. Random weird things he finds. And I think he got this out in Yamanashi-ken. But this is Kikyo Shingen Mochi Kit Kats.
So the key here is the mochi Kit Kat.
Right. I think the Kikyo Shingen is the kind of Yamanashi part of Japan kind of special thing, I think. Again, you are asking somebody who's not an expert. I think that's what that means. So yes, it is a mochi Kit Kat. Mochi being
pounded rice.
Pounded rice.
You basically have this pounded rice that turns it into a rice cake. It's very...
Sticky.
Sticky is the best way? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pliant?
Sure.
I'm trying to think of like when you bite into it, it has a lot of give is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm going to just call this from now on Mochi Kit Kats because...
The Mochi Kit Kat.
Let's simplify it.
So I'm looking at it, and that is an off-white color.
Yes, if you didn't know better, you would think it's... wasn't white chocolate, but what was I thinking earlier? Goodness. I lost it as I was looking at it. It kind of looks like the biscuit ones we had a while back.
Yeah.
Like that kind of brown. Like a pale, very light brown.
Very light brown. I would say it'd be closer to like the color that we had with maybe like cheesecake-ish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you smelled it yet?
Oh.
Yeah, very interesting smell, huh? A little bit of a burn smell, maybe. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Hints of a mochi kind of smell, but...
I'm not really sure where I would place that smell.
Yeah, me neither. Well, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
It does taste a little bit like mochi.
Mm-hmm.
Which, how do you make it taste like mochi? How do you do that? You know what that, again, you're asking and not an expert on this stuff, but it kind of tastes like that kinako stuff that they put on mochi.
It really does taste like mochi covered in kinako, which is interesting because I always associate that flavor with the mochi texture as well.
Which I was struggling with because I kept feeling in my mouth like it was a little bit more sticky of a Kit Kat than we normally have.
I think that's in your head.
I think it's my head.
I think that's in your head.
Because it tastes so much like mochi.
Yeah, it tastes a lot like mochi.
No, I agree.
I mean, it tastes a lot like mochi, but I think the texture change is all in your head.
I think so too. I think like, oh, it's chewier. No, just because it tastes like mochi, my brain is thinking it's chewier. Yep. So that is pretty funny that my brain is playing that trick on me.
Yep.
I'm not sure I like it.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide based on where I am on a lot of the past ones, where would I put this?
I think I'm going to give it a 4 also.
I think this one is still a 5 for me. Yeah, it's still a 5. I mean, for me, let's be fair, you really have to screw up a Kit Kat to be a not passing for me. So what does that say about the summer mango and the cheesecake ones? But yeah, 5.
Sounds good.
Interesting flavors.
I can eat mochi with kinako on it. I can eat that. I think this one I don't like as much.
I don't know. You're gonna have to prove it. I don't think that I'm
gonna have to show you that I can eat kinako.
Yes, you're gonna have to show me that you can eat kinako. Otherwise, I won't believe it. Screenshots or it didn't happen. So Nate, are you a big gift giver?
Am I a big gift giver? I don't do well. No, my wife does much better.
Because I think today, considering what we read, I'd like to think about gifts that we've received in the past, things that have really stood out, or if not gifts, maybe things that we were given as a piece of memorabilia of other people, things that were given or left to us or something like that.
I think that's a good one. I mean, yeah, the boy in the story gets a really nice gift, but at the same time, the people are giving throughout the story, so...
See, and I was also thinking of the fact that the girl in the story is given a very interesting gift as a piece of memorabilia from her father. Do you know what I'm referring to?
No, from her father. Oh, yeah.
The other golem.
The golem.
The golem itself.
Yes. I see what you mean.
That is a piece of memorabilia from her father.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nate, Why don't you tell me about a piece of memorabilia from your life?
Sure. I think one of the things that I received when I was little, one of the more memorable Christmases, I think I might have mentioned this, is my parents one time gave me not just like 1 or 2 Star Trek figures, I think it was like 5 or 6 Star Trek figures one Christmas. I opened a box, and inside the box were like 6 Star Trek figures, something like that. Action figures, which was very surprising because usually we only get a few, 1 or 2 things. Why am I getting 6? And I think my brother got a similar amount as well. He just got different characters, which worked out really well for us. So I was very pleased. And I even created myself with some cardboard and paint around the house. I had made myself just a simple diorama that I could put my Star Trek figures and play around. So I had a lot of fun with that. At some point also, my parents had given me a Star Trek Playmates shuttlecraft to go with the figures. So I was able to play with the shuttlecraft, and I had built a shuttle bay with the diorama, and I had a good time. I am not a very big storyteller. Just come up with stories on the spot, which is why I struggle with some of, D&D and things like that. But I was, I did a little bit of that. I made some probably not well thought out stories for my characters to play around in. And I probably more mirrored some of the episodes on TV, but I had a good time playing with those. I remember that being a very special Christmas and, probably year following. And now I've given my Star Trek figures to my kids, and they play with them occasionally.
And how often did you create stories about a giant space jellyfish?
Not that often. Although, interesting you mention that because you need to watch Picard. The most recent episode had space jellyfish.
Giant space jellyfish?
No, these ones weren't giant. They were tiny. But again, they referenced Farpoint. So, yes, you need to watch Picard, Ryan.
I know.
This one was a very good episode.
I'm sorry that I don't subscribe to every streaming service out there.
Yep.
So, for me, the first thing that I thought about was a teddy bear.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So, I went home for Christmas this past year, and one of the requests that my parents had for me as I was home was, hey, all those boxes that you've left in our house for a number of years? It'd be really nice if, you just could go through them and not have so many stinking boxes in our house that you're planning on leaving here.
Not keep everything?
Not keep everything in our house. Especially if you're not taking it with you to Japan. That sort of thing. But I was going through my boxes, and I came across one box that had a bunch of memorabilia in it. And the one that stood out to me was I had a red Crayola teddy bear that, if I recall correctly, I received from, I think it was my grandmother, if not my great-grandmother. I would have to double check with my parents because I received it before I have memories of it. So I have always had this teddy bear. This was the teddy bear that I basically had growing up. It was a bright red Crayola teddy bear. And my brother had a green one, I think. And I had that bear and slept with that bear far longer than I probably should have. But yeah, it was something that I loved very dearly, and I remember that I was always grateful for it. But it definitely reminds me of family, and it reminds me of my grandparents, and it reminds me of family in general.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. So wait, this teddy bear, it's not like a soft, fluffy one then. It's something you color.
No, it's a soft, fluffy one.
But just has a Crayola brand.
It is a Crayola brand teddy bear.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a bright red teddy bear with a Crayola t-shirt.
Okay. A yellow t-shirt. Like it's a...
No, it's a red t-shirt with the word Crayola written on it.
Oh, okay.
It is a Crayola brand teddy bear.
I'm just trying to build it into the brand. I'm just making it something you color.
No.
Have a yellow shirt that makes it look like a crayon. I'm trying to fit it into the Crayola thing.
None of these. It is a Crayola brand red teddy bear. It is a bright red teddy bear, and the only colors on it are red and black.
Okay.
And the black is for, like, the nose.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go to one my wife gave me. And I'm pretty sure this was before we married. Because I think she talked to one of my friends at the time. She's like, I want to buy Nate something to do with his camera. Because I was pretty into photography. I mean, I'm still kind of into photography. Although over the years I've realized I'm not the best photographer. I do okay. I definitely am not good enough to, be a photographer for a photographer company.
But you're going to take over the photography role next year, right?
Well, with help from others so that we can actually get the things we need to get. But I know how to work a camera. I just don't always have the artistic eye. I'm not as artistic. I'm a little bit too mathematical, which one of the ways I see that get in the way is I'm sometimes hesitant to push the shutter. It's like, oh, something better is going to come. No, just take the picture then. And maybe something better will come later too, but you can take the picture then too. I'm not taking film anymore.
That is definitely not my style of taking pictures either. If people are like, Ryan, please take me a picture of this thing, I will take 12 pictures of that exact thing and go, one of them's probably all right.
So, and my wife thought I was going to be much better at photography than I was. I'm sorry. I must have been leading her on back then while we were still dating. That's for sure. But she talked to my friend. She's like, I want to get Nate something for his camera. And she bought a battery grip for my Canon camera. And it was pretty nice. I was very pleased to receive this gift. It was the perfect accessory to build the collection I was having. And I was able to stuff it with battery. I mean, my camera already lasted pretty long on battery. The benefit of having more battery was nice, but it wasn't the primary goal for me. The thing I really liked was having a vertical shutter button so that I could hold the camera vertically and have the shutter button be in a more comfortable position. Because I did like flipping my camera around, taking vertical pictures. So having a vertical shutter button just made it much easier to use. And I brought that camera around a lot. Like I had that camera for quite a while, even quite a while after she gave that gift. So I still have the camera. I still have the battery grip. I usually leave it attached. I'm not sure if it's still attached right now, but I usually leave it attached. But because our phones take so much better photos now, I don't use that camera quite as much. And because the school has much better cameras than that too, I just borrow the school's cameras now. But I really appreciated that battery grip, and I used it for quite a while, and it was the perfect gift at the time. So I was very pleased with my girlfriend at the time, and I think we probably married that same year. I think that was probably the last gift she gave. Well, not the last gift, but anyway, it was probably...
And that was the last gift she ever gave me.
No, I was going to say last gift before marriage, but no, I'm pretty sure she gave me a few more gifts before marriage. No, it was the last Christmas. I think it was the last Christmas before we got married, so I think I got it then. Christmas/birthday, one of them. Anyway, very nice.
Yeah. Well, my struggle has been trying to think of which of the many gifts I have gotten throughout the years is the other, big gift that stands out in my mind as a present. Because I can think back on all the Christmas birthday presents that I've received over the years and things like that. But one of the things that I remember is, and this is kind of a weird thing, but I remember it for how well the person who gave me this gift knew me. So I had a friend in college who loved to give gifts. And I will be honest, I am terrible at giving gifts. We've gone over this before. I am the type of person who I will give you a gift card because I know that no matter what I think you will want, you will know what you want more. I will give you a gift card. I will take you out. I will take you shopping if you so desire. But don't make me go out and guess what I think you might want. I'm going to fail. That being said, I had a friend who loved to give gifts, and for Christmas/my birthday every year, and I say it like that because my birthday is close enough to the holidays and close enough to Christmas that whether fortunate or unfortunate, a lot of people tended to merge the two for presents for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had this one friend who wanted to give me a gift, and so the first year they said, hey, the special edition box set, the special box set for Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, just came out. Mm-hmm. The other two hadn't come out yet. And so they bought the box set for me for Christmas and said, Ryan, I'm going to buy you Fellowship of the Ring this year.
The movie or the books?
The movie.
Okay.
This was when the movies were coming out.
Right.
And they had just come out in like special extended edition box sets.
Yes. I know what you mean now. Yep.
And so they said, I am going to buy you Fellowship of the Ring this year. Next year, I'm going to buy you The Two Towers. Same special edition box set. Same exact version. The year after that, I am going to buy you The Return of the King. I am telling you this, Ryan, so that you will not go out and just buy it yourself.
Because you would.
Because I am the type of person who, if I want something and I'm like, this seems like something that I would like to do, I will just go out and buy it myself. Because that's the type of person I am. I don't want to have to be like, hey, I'm going to drop some subtle hints. Please buy this present for me. No, I'm terrible at that. And also I feel super weird and obligated when those things happen. But yeah, so this friend of mine, not only the thing that I always remember is the fact that they got me the movies of a book series that I love, the special edition movies that were great renditions of it, and knew me well enough to clearly state, I'm going to do this every year for you for the next 3 years. So Ryan, don't do what is in your nature to do this. And I will say that I still, to this day, have all 3 of those box sets.
Good.
They are actually over on my bookshelf here in Japan. So, yeah, it is something that I remember based solely on A, they got me what I wanted, and B, they got me what I wanted in the way that makes the most sense to me as a human being.
Ryan.
Yes.
I made you read another book.
Another book?
And it's been a while since we read the first one because of the way the episodes worked out. It wasn't just 2 episodes ago, it was a few months ago. But anyway.
Yeah, how long ago was it?
The first one we recorded in November, and it's March, so 4 months ago.
Could have been longer.
It could have been longer, that's for sure, yep. So I had you read The Golem and... that was the first one. I had you read The Golem and the Genie in November.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to episode 70 for that one. That's a good one. And you probably should read that one first. This time I had you read The Hidden Palace, which is the sequel. So it's the number 2 book in the series.
Yeah, and it's only been like a month since our last time we talked about it.
Shh, Brian, shh. They can do the research if they want to figure that out. Yep, so The Hidden Palace by Helene Wecker. Please go read them. They are fun books. But I will let Ryan give you the elevator pitch.
Yep. So, as it was covered in The Golem and the Genie, there is a golem named Chava.
Mm-hmm. And a genie. Sorry.
And a genie named Ahmad.
You know, it's right on the book title on the first one.
Well, this one, guess what? It's also right on the cover, too. Because it says, The Hidden Palace, a tale of the golem and the genie.
That's true. It's true.
So, still right there. But it picks up a couple of years after the events of the first book. And Chava is trying to figure out her place in the world, and so is Ahmad. At the end of the last book, Ahmad buries the flask with the wizard in it in the desert, and then returns back to New York, where both Chava and Ahmad enter into a relationship together, and they figure out where their place is in the world. And really, this is the story of where do they go from here, now that they somewhat understand how to move and interact within human society.
Yes.
So, I will say that reading this was very interesting because I was intrigued to see where they were going to take this one, because the end of book 1 felt like a good conclusion to their story arc.
I would say yes. I would say that it concluded the will you survive or can you survive in this world line. Like, is it even possible? Like, that issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think it solved that, but I think I like this one because it solved the other thing, but I'm going to save that for later. It solved the other big conflict in that book that wasn't solved at the end of the first book.
Yeah, Okay.
So yeah, I think this book moved the story forward, right? Like years forward, right? 15 years forward, I guess, something like that, right?
I mean, throughout the book, it kept jumping forward in more and more years. So I think,
Because they actually got to the war, so maybe even 20 years forward, right?
yeah, I'm trying to remember where it was beginning. It was my problem.
Yeah, I know.
If I remember right, it was like early 1900s, like 1901 or 1905-ish,
Yeah.
that kind of range at the beginning. But by the end, we were at least partway through World War One.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I forget if America had started or not in the war.
Well, the end of the book, one of the epilogue scenes had the Lusitania sinking, so it was right before America entered.
So, yep, and I like that it moved the story forward. It progressed things through, yet still found places to introduce new characters. I mean, because we lost a few characters from the first book, the wizard being one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, the two we lost were the wizard, who still makes a few minor appearances, but we also lost Salah.
Right, Salah. Mm-hmm. Well, and Michael, right, her husband.
Oh, yeah, Michael.
But yes, Salah was a good character in the first book. So we lost a few characters. I mean, we're missing them, yes, but they had good arcs in the first book. But we did gain a few good characters in this one, right? I mean, Crandall being the biggest, I think. We meet her early on through her father. I mean, her father's introduced in the first chapter, I think.
If not the first, maybe the second. But it's real early.
Well, I think it's after the prologue of the genie burying his thing, connecting the two stories. But I think it's interesting that he decides to build a lifelike one right off the bat.
I don't know if he made a lifelike one.
Well,
he made it somewhat human, but like the way they described him, it was still did not sound very like lifelike.
Yes, yeah, that's for sure.
No one would be like, you know what? That's a dude.
Yeah. Not with marble eyes. Yes, I agree with that. But I mean, maybe he did. Maybe he did start with smaller ones because I guess we're seeing it from Crandall's perspective.
Oh, you mean human-sized, not lifelike.
Yes, sorry. Yes, human-sized. Like Uncanny Valley,
Yeah.
But why didn't he start with an ant? Or like in the first book, not like Rabbi Meyer's first attempts, where he was building smaller little things and then, practiced destroying them at the same time. Where this guy's like, no, I'm going to start right away with the big guys. And maybe he did. Maybe he did practice with smaller ones and learn the destruction phrases.
Yeah.
But he didn't share that piece of information with his daughter, interestingly, if he did practice.
That is largely because by the time that he shared anything with his daughter, he was emaciated.
Yeah, he was on his way out. But you would think that, like, okay, we're building this together. Here are some of the secrets of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's interesting, right? And again, it's not a problem. I mean, he was definitely enthralled in his work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's too bad, right? I mean, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, I guess he must have been just too enthralled in his work and too trying to get this to come out that he didn't share that with her, I guess. Maybe it's emphasizing his downward fall toward the end.
Yeah, I mean, at the point that he was at, he wasn't eating. He was very much captured by this
project.
This project. And he was focused on doing this for the intention of, in his mind, giving his people a protector.
Mm-hmm.
May have gone a little...
Well, maybe he didn't even know the dangers of the golem. Although I guess he seemed pretty learned, so maybe he did know them. But maybe he just thought that this one wouldn't do that.
I don't think that he did. I think he was more... I mean, he didn't anticipate to die.
Yes, that's for sure.
I think at the point where he was at, it sounded like they were about to run a few more tests, and then they were going to get on a boat. And even if he got sick, like right away on the boat, he would at least have had time to tell his daughter a couple more commands, you would think. I think probably his mindset was there was more time to talk through that part.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't even gotten it up and running yet. Why do they need to worry about how to get rid of something that hasn't started?
Right. Yep. Yeah, I think you could be right.
At least, again, that's how my mind would give him a little bit of leeway.
All right. One of the characters who got a gift, which is where we were going with this earlier. I mean, again, like you said, other characters get... I mean, Yosela was a gift to Kringle. But anyway, Toby got himself a bike from Hava, or Charlotte maybe at the time. Anyway.
At the time, she was Chava.
I think probably still Hava, yeah.
Yeah, she was still Chava at the time. She doesn't turn into Charlotte until after
she starts at the school.
After she goes to the school.
Yes. Wait, is she Charlotte when she goes to teaching school? Or is it only when she gets to the...
Only when she goes to the orphanage.
Okay.
She graduated, and then basically after she graduated, it looked like that's the point where she changed her name.
So Toby is Anna's son from the first book. I mean, this is the one that was born out of wedlock. That was part of the conclusion of that book.
Anna's the one who had been captured near the end.
Right.
To be the bait for Chava.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Toby is the product of all that, but he is great in this book. Like, actually, I thought he was a great character. He's got a very interesting, like, curse upon himself, where he's got the dream of the final scenes of the last book just running around as a nightmare in his head because he was in his mother's womb at the time and didn't understand everything, but knew that things were scary and kind of, basically felt the flashes of that and is now just reliving that all the time as he's growing up, which has a great arc in itself toward the end of this book.
Yeah, seeing him basically come to grips with the fact that this dream and this nightmare have essentially defined most of his youth up to a certain point. Why he does what he does is because he is essentially trying to deal with the effects of this nightmare that will not leave him alone.
And the fact that his mother has chosen not to fill him with nonsense, but get him very practical, which, he does basically become very practical and just suits him well. I mean, I guess in many ways.
And not just that, his mother also refuses to tell him anything about the events of the previous book for fear of him getting taken advantage of, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the last one I wanted to mention as a new character was the Genia, the girl genie.
The one known as Dima at one point.
Right. She kind of gives herself the name Dima, which is interesting. But I guess one of the questions I had too, it's not really talked about here or answered, but I almost wonder, do you think the genie's fear of iron is just from stories? Like, do you think that Dima can touch iron because all genie can touch iron, or do you think she really is a fluke amongst genie?
Based on how they've expressed other things, I would say she's a fluke.
Okay.
And the reason being is because at certain points, they talk about the fact that iron is like chilling to them. So like, I think if I remember right, Ahmad in the first book, he talks about how the bracer that he is stuck with stings him when it's first put around him.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. They did mention that in the earlier books.
I think it is just that essentially she is maybe not a fluke, maybe a
special flower.
Yeah, let's go with special flower. Can I not think of the word that I want to use? Oh well.
Not exceptional, I guess.
We can say exceptional or exception.
Yeah, an exception. Mm-hmm.
She's an exception.
I think it's a little bit too bad that she does not end up learning.
Well, she does learn how to book a ticket.
How to book a ticket on a boat. How important that can be.
She doesn't learn the important value of friendship and things like that.
Right. But at the same time, she's not forced into learning either. And apparently, it's not in their nature to be that kind of friend. So, oh well. I mean, I guess if she were to learn, that would have been exceptional. But yeah, it is too bad.
Yeah. But based solely on her refusal at the beginning to like do a lot of things, like she would just offhandedly refuse to wear any clothes or do anything that was slightly human-like. It would have been a pretty hard turn for her to suddenly be like, okay, I will now interact with humans. Based solely on the fact that she looked down on humans. There's no two ways about that. So it would have been a very hard turn for her to view them as valuable. But I could see her moving more in that direction in, say, a book 3.
Yeah, perhaps. All right, let me get to why this book is my favorite, I think. Or at least the thing that I like the most about this book.
All right, I'm listening.
Is the whole theme of, and I wrote down one of the quotes that I think Hava says, where she says, arguments are uncomfortable, but silence is worse.
Yes.
Because I think that that's one of the underlying problems in the first book that they didn't finish. They didn't ever complete that. that they don't ever get over their differences still in the first book. And I think they finally get to the point where they have gotten over their differences in Hidden Palace. They're like, yeah, okay, these people are different.
At the end.
At the end, I know, at the very end.
Yeah, because throughout the book, 90% of their problems are caused by the fact that they don't just talk to each other.
Yep. But one of the things I like about this book, let me go back a little bit to, have you ever watched the sitcom How I Met Your Mother?
Yes.
I've watched it, 2 or 3 of them, not many. But I'm going to judge the whole series based on that, okay?
Okay, sounds reasonable.
Because at least the 2 or 3 that I saw, which are random ones in the middle, it seems like the whole premise of this show is that this boy goes around and meets woman after woman after woman and embarrasses himself or does some other thing in such a way that, okay, this girl that I had seen for one date, I'm no longer going to date anymore. And just drops them. Like, I think one of them I saw, he just did something embarrassing. And then, okay, that's it. I'm not dating that girl anymore because of the one embarrassing thing I did. Where I look at it and say, you do one embarrassing thing, and if she accepts you after that, then that's actually pretty good. Like, come on, why do you throw her away? Just give her a chance to accept you after that. And if she does, hey, that's great. If she doesn't, then of course, yes, walk away. But I look at that and say, just talk to these girls. You base everything off of one date and you move on. Like, okay, anyway, sorry. Again, I'm judging the whole series off of 3 randomly watched episodes. But that drove me nuts about that show, where he has no reason not to talk to them, right? His only reason is his own fear. Whereas at least this book has a reason why they can't always talk to each other about things. I mean, maybe Ahmad and Hava can talk to each other about things, or should probably talk to each other more. But of course, she can't share it with anyone else, like because of who she is and what she is. And Ahmad can't share with anyone else, and they can't tell each other secrets out of respect. So, like, at least there's a little bit more plot, or at least there's a little bit more of a contrivance where they're prevented from talking about certain things. At least than the TV show How I Met Your Mother, right?
Yeah. But while I will grant you that some of that is true, there is a number of other things that could have been solved by just, thinking and dealing with your own feelings and talking it out with the people close to you.
Yes, I agree. Although I would say that these beings are so completely different that they can't imagine, or at least they have a hard time continually imagining where the other person's coming from.
Yeah. I mean, I say this because, for example, one of the problems that was annoying me a little bit about Ahmad partway through the story was he was becoming increasingly upset and increasingly angry because of the negative impact he was having
on those around him,
on Boutros' life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you know what would have solved that? Talking that out.
Yes. But I think that Ahmad just doesn't see things, right? I mean,
yeah.
I think he's probably getting there toward the end where he's at least a little bit able to recognize some of the things he's not seeing, that things might exist beyond his view. I mean, he has a huge arc this whole book. So
He does have a really big arc. But yeah, and that's the thing is so many of the problems that I was seeing was just because it was like, guys, just talk to each other.
Just talk.
And if not talk to each other, also like realize where these emotions are coming from.
Right. Which was great that he returned the locket, right? I mean, that was a big one.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, like, again, why is Ahmad locking himself in a building for 3 years? Because he's grieving. And he never comes to the conclusion that this is him dealing with his grief.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
By the way, I am saying it like this because I am getting worked up and talking about him in this way because it is a very wonderfully written book.
Yep.
These are great characters. And I'm just like, I want you to be happy.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, I think in the first book, Hava came to acceptance of who she is and how she can fit in, which is why she grows so much in this book. And I think possibly now, Ahmad has come to acceptance with who he is and can possibly start growing in Chicago.
In Chicago.
But why would you go to Chicago?
Well, because that's the place of the best pizza. But yeah, Hava and Ahmad, they're great characters. And
they're great characters.
Basically, the entire time, I'm rooting for them to find some corner of the world where they can be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I think at the end of this book, it sets them up that they can find that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's what's great is they realize they love each other, but they don't need to spend their lives together.
Well, they don't need to spend every moment of their lives together. They're going
to have eternity anyway.
They can meet each other in another 20, 30 years and give it another shot.
Because they're going to have to keep moving around anyway.
Well.
Which was interesting because, even when Toby realizes that Hava is older than his mother, right? Like, oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess that's right. I guess his mother would feel older than Hava in his eyes. But no, I keep thinking of Hava's younger than his mother.
Well, technically, Hava is younger than his mother. Because, at the beginning of book 1, she is...
months old. Well, just born.
Just born.
Yeah, she meets Anna being months old. Yeah, but it was a great story.
Yeah.
I like, too, that there are... this is why I asked you earlier on, right? Have you been to the fire yet? Trying not to give too much away about that, but...
Which fire? Because there are lots of fires in this book.
Yeah, I was talking about the building fire.
No, I was not there yet.
Yeah. Where Yosela wakes up at that fire. There's tension in a bunch of places. It goes back and forth. So I think it works very well.
Oh, yeah. And I think getting to the fact that they just don't talk about their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that would have solved so many of their problems is the fact that the thing that Chava is worried about is she doesn't quite understand why Ahmad is so upset about the way that she was running into the burning building. And really the thing that she doesn't realize is the fact that he just is so scared of losing her.
Yes.
That he cares so deeply for her that he doesn't want her to, he doesn't want to lose her.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't want to see the wishes of everyone else overriding her desires also.
Yeah. And if they could just get that understanding between them, that would have solved a couple of major issues a lot earlier. But again, that wouldn't make a good book.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think the big thing for me is the fact that these are great characters. And the big thing that is their downfall throughout the book is the fact that they don't know how to put their feelings and emotions into words that the other can understand.
Yes, that the other can understand, or can they be open to listening to how the other one understands also, right? Not only can they not impart what they feel, but they're also not willing to listen to the partner and accept their differences. So I think it's both ways.
Yeah.
But, that's their characters. And they finally get closer. It's probably not exactly solved, but they finally got closer.
Yeah. We'll just have to wait and see if there's a
third
Element
book.
Genie book 3 coming out.
Yeah.
Book 1 came out in 2013. Book 2 came out in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's about the same pace, we've got a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm. So, yep, I liked this book, but I think it definitely has a better excuse than How I Met Your Mother of why people aren't talking to each other. I didn't ask you the all-important question, Ryan. Did you like it?
Oh, of course, yes.
But I see you only gave it 4 stars, Ryan, in Goodreads.
I was trying to decide if it was a...
Because there's no decimals.
Yeah, because I couldn't do decimals. No, I gave it 4 stars for now, and I'm trying to decide if I wanted to reestablish what makes a 4-star and what makes a 5-star for my evaluations.
To me, this one's a 5-star because I think it finally gets the people don't talk to each other plot down perfectly.
Yeah.
Everybody else does it poorly. Just talk, guys. Come on, just talk. Alrighty, Ryan. Next time, you have a book for me again. Yes.
This one should be a quick read for you.
Sounds good to me.
Because I thought, there's an author that we really haven't covered enough here.
Brandon Sanderson?
I was actually thinking Terry Pratchett.
Well, that one too, yeah.
No, I actually thought that, we've read a lot of Becky Chambers' books about the Wayfarer series, but she has a series of novellas that she's been writing, starting with A Psalm for the Wild-Built. This is the Monk and Robot series, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought, who also would probably really like a new Becky Chambers book to read? Nate.
Yep, probably me. So this is the first time you're bringing a Becky Chambers book to the table, too.
Well, yeah, it is. I think this is the first one that I've gotten a chance to read it before you've gotten a chance to read it.
Yep, and I've been saving it until this day, so I have not yet read it. I mean, I knew it was a quicker read, so I figured I will have time.
So we'll read this, and then we'll probably read the second book in the series pretty quickly thereafter.
Sounds good.
We'll see if we can't get to these, just to vary things up so that you're not just reading Sanderson and Pratchett this year.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we hope you found something nice about this hill that we were willing to die on, and we appreciate all of our listeners coming along on this journey with us. And if you've ever thought to yourself, hey, I really like these guys and what they do, and I just wish that I could support them in some way, know that you can. Visit myhilltodieon.com/members for more details. But what does it mean to be a member? Well, for the low price of $2 a month or $15 a year, you can help support this podcast. And by doing so, you'll get access to the members-only podcast, Not My Hill, which is where we discuss things that are probably someone else's hill to die on. We have strong feelings about them, but yeah, just as the title says, they're not hills we'd be willing to die on. In addition to that, though, you'll also get access to the suggestion form, where you will be able to make suggestions for our Listener Hill episodes, where we will watch, read, or climb up a hill that you're willing to die on, and we'll talk all about it. But know that the conversation doesn't have to end here. The discussion can continue with us through Reddit at the subreddit My Hill to Die On, or by contacting us through email, which is, to no one's surprise, myhilltodieon@gmail.com. And finally, we upload all of our episodes to our YouTube channel, which is also named, say with me now, folks, My Hill to Die On. Dun dun! So, let me just tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thankfully did finish the book in time.
Oh, good. Mm-hmm.
Important
things. Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as I finished that, I went back to trying to finish the edit that I needed to hand off to you. And let me just tell you, with us both being sick during this edit, oh my gosh, it can make me sick to my stomach doing some of our edits.
Listening to all the sniffles?
Thank you. You're the one who has to edit that.
This one's my edit, yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit rough, because I was just like, wow, this is a bit much.
Welcome to My Hill to Die On, episode 72.
We all have things that we're passionate about.
Things we want our friends to try and experience. You're trying to throw me, Ryan.
No, it's the fact that I completely forgot that I didn't open up the file yet.
Oh, everyone has things they're passionate about. It's okay, just pick up things. Where are you? So we've convinced each other.
No. I'm opening the doc now.
I was gonna say you're not in the document actually. I can tell you're not here.
That's what I was saying. That's why I started laughing, because I was like, what was it again? I'm the one who wrote this. How could I keep forgetting it? Where am I? Here we are. Everyone has things that they're passionate about. I did, however, see at Seijuishi pomegranate soda.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I didn't know if you wanted me to pick up more now that we're down to 2 drinks, but
I guess we could.
I might grab that one the next time I'm there.
I think that's worth it. There was some Calpuses that I'm going to let slide because
it's Calpus, and we should always let those slide?
No, because we have enough drinks in general, and Calpus comes up with enough flavors that there'll just be more next time, so don't worry.
Yep. The other thing that I'm doing right now is I am trying to decide if I have overinflated any of my scores on Goodreads. Because in listening to all of my things that I say on this most recent episode, I'm like, do I just overinflate all my grades? And when I go and sort by lowest ratings to highest ratings and realize that I actually deigned to give People of Sparks 2 stars, maybe I do.
I think that's okay.
That I overinflate them?
No, that you gave it 2 stars.
Possibly. I think the big thing that I need to do is I need to be more willing to give certain things 3 stars. Because there are a lot of ones that I gave 4 stars that I was like, I'll give it 4 stars, that I mean, I think it's the 3, 4, 5 range that I've been a little too generous on shoving people up there. Because I apparently am not allowed decimals.
Nope.
I don't understand.
This time it's not me defining it either.
At least give me a 10-star rating then.
Mm-hmm.
Because I need more nuance.
I remember now. I was trying to think, now that you got me opening up my Goodreads, there was a good time travel book that I read where I appreciated the time travel. Well, it was a good time travel story. I was trying to think of it last Wednesday when I was at game night, and I couldn't think of what it was. I thought it was Orville, which had a good time travel story recently too. But no, it was Sea of Tranquility.
Sea of Tranquility. That sounds very familiar.
It's by Emily St. John Mandel.
Mm.
It's one of the things I read on Goodreads. I don't know if you get the emails.
Oh, I don't get emails, but when I log into Goodreads, I do see all of your alerts saying, yeah, Nathaniel Rudd just read this, and this, and this, and this, and this.
Well, and I don't think I liked the book, but I appreciated the holding true to the laws of the time travel.
Hmm.
I appreciated that. I don't remember why. I was saving it for Not My Hill as a possible Not My Hill, but now I lost my notes.
Speaking of Not My Hill.
Oh yeah, I got to redo the logo so we can get that up. Yeah,
I have been receiving the occasional
nudging
message from our listeners.
So, and also to be honest too, I probably should cut some of this out for boringness, but
yeah. I did think that this would be just a nice little quick aside question. Not a 20.
I was a little bit worried we weren't going to have enough beginning topics. Not a 20-minute question. No, what do you mean? Are you talking this an accidental tech question?
This is a accidental tech question that I am afraid most of our users will be, most of our listeners.
I think they use our podcast for entertainment, Ryan.
Most of our listeners will probably be like, what in the world are they even talking about? I don't understand half the things they're saying.
Yeah.
Because there is a subset of people who listen to our podcast who understand like tech on this level.
There we go. Mm-hmm.
You find it?
Yeah, because typing Hades into Google,
you'll come up with the Disney Hades, yeah.
You schmooze. What's the line?
You dance, you schmooze, you...
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
What's that brown stuff they put on mochi? The brown powdery stuff.
It starts with a K, right? Doesn't it start with a K?
I think it starts with a K too, but what are the costs?
I cannot remember what it is.
I'm seeing it in the pictures. I just don't know what it's called again.
Is it kinako?
Kinako. That's what it is. Yep, kinako.
Kinako.
Which I forget where it comes from too, that stuff.
Kinako is roasted soybean flour.
That's it, yes. Yep.
Okay.
There we go.
That's some exciting podcast listening while we're like, what K.
So let's start this again. I think it tastes more like that kinako stuff that they put on mochi.
Oh. Yeah.
There we go. We knew it the whole time, Ryan. We knew it the whole time.
Yeah. Sorry. No, and we definitely didn't edit out like 5 minutes of us going,
stumbling
what's
around
the word
internet
again? What's the word around? What's the word again? Kinako, right? I think it's kinako. Yeah. That's the right word. Okay. All right.
But yep. I think it does taste like the kinako stuff.
It really does taste like mochi covered in kinako.
What are they called? Goodness. What's the brand?
Station.
No, not that brand. It's not Playmobil. Playmates. Star Trek Playmates shuttlecraft.
Which of the many gifts I have gotten throughout the years is the other like big gift that stands out in my mind as a present? Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about the present that my wife gave.
Wait a minute. Well, you have a wife, Ryan?
I just had to start that way. I was kidding.
Don't give any hope to the people listening to the podcast.
Yeah, no. My brain just died.
Krangle being the biggest, I think.
Krangle?
Krangle the girl.
Oh, Crandall.
How do you say
I thought it was Crandall.
I actually don't know. I
How
don't
do
know how
you
to
say that name?
I don't know. I've only heard it. I've never even seen it. You're right.
But yeah, I thought it was Crandall. Maybe I'm misremembering it. You know, at a certain point, all words lose meaning.
Hava is spelled with a CH. Didn't even know that either.
Yeah, that's why it's Chava.
Yeah. Crandall. You are right. Kreindel.
Crandall. Yeah.
I thought it was Krangle. Anyway. Have you watched more than 3 episodes?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
I have watched more than 3 episodes, but they are all intermittent episodes. I have not watched the series straight through.
Okay. Isn't Neil Patrick Harris in this show?
Yeah. And he's great in it. The final season or final episode ruins everything about the show.
Oh yeah, probably because of the whole premise of the show, right? Of the whole father talking to his kids, explaining, they're just going to ruin it. It's going to be a jumping the shark moment, no matter how they do it.
Yeah, well, basically, what ends up happening is a bunch of things happen at the end, and eventually, all of the relationships they've built up throughout all of the seasons get overturned in the last 5 minutes of the last episode.
No,
and it's just really.
You mean everything was a dream kind of thing? I mean, that kind of thing, not
Worse.
exactly that. Or
Worse
you mean where the last episode of your entire 4-season run is a dream of Riker on a holodeck? Sorry, just kidding. Enterprise. It's been a long time. No, is that how the song goes? Sorry. No, it's a long way getting from here to there. Is that what it is? Anyway, sorry. I forgot we should have done. What would you do if you didn't have to sleep? I was going to do. If you didn't have to sleep, or you didn't have to eat, so you saved up all your money to buy yourself lots of fun stuff. Anyway,
you save up all your money so you can actually pay for college? What?
Exactly. Neither of us know that.